The metallic clang of the mop bucket echoed through the empty hallway as Marcus Thompson pushed it toward the gymnasium, his weathered hands gripping the handle with the same quiet determination that had carried him through 12 years of single parenthood. At 42, his shoulders bore more than just the weight of his janitor's uniform. They carried the dreams of his 16-year-old son Jake, who sat in the bleachers every day after school, pretending to do homework while watching the wrestling team practice. Marcus had learned to read the subtle language of his son's longing, the way Jake's eyes followed the wrestler's movements, how his fingers unconsciously mimicked their grip techniques against his textbooks, the careful way he studied the team photos hanging in the trophy case. But wrestling gear cost money they didn't have, and the team fees might as well have been a mortgage payment for a man who counted every dollar twice. "Hey, janitor man," the voice cut through Marcus's thoughts like a blade. Tyler Morrison, the coach's son and team captain, stood with his crew near the wrestling mats, their expensive Under Armour gear a stark contrast to Marcus's faded coveralls. "You missed a spot over there." Tyler pointed to a section of floor that gleamed spotless under the fluorescent lights. The other boys snickered, their laughter bouncing off the gymnasium walls. Marcus had endured worse. In this small Ohio town, respect wasn't something freely given to a man who cleaned up after other people's children, especially not to one who'd never made it past high school himself. He nodded quietly and moved his mop in the direction Tyler had indicated, his jaw tight but his dignity intact. "Dad works so hard," Jake had told his grandmother just last week, not knowing Marcus was listening from the kitchen. "I wish I could do something to make him proud. Really proud, you know, like something that matters." Those words had lodged themselves in Marcus's chest like a splinter he couldn't extract. His boy was already everything he could hope for: a honor roll student, kind heart, never a moment of trouble. But Marcus understood the deeper hunger in Jake's voice, the need to excel at something that mattered in the social currency of high school. The wrestling demonstration was Coach Morrison's brainchild, a fundraising event where parents and community members could try their hand against the varsity team. $5 to step on the mat, winner take all if anyone could pin one of his champions. The money would go toward new equipment and tournament travel. Marcus had watched from the supplely closet doorway as the coach explained the rules to an increasingly enthusiastic crowd of dads in polo shirts and khakis. "Come on, who wants to show these boys how it's done?" Coach Morrison called out, his voice booming across the packed gymnasium. Hands shot up throughout the bleachers. A successful businessman, weekend warriors, former high school athletes eager to relive their glory days. One by one, they stepped onto the mat with confidence and stepped off with bruised egos. The boys were good, really good. Tyler Morrison moved like water, technical and precise, dispatching challenges with an efficiency that bordered on arrogant. The crowd grew louder with each victory, the energy electric. "Anyone else brave enough?" Coach Morrison scanned the crowd, his eyes passing right over Marcus, who stood quietly by the door with his cleaning cart. That's when Jake stood up. "My dad wrestled in high school." Jake's voice carried across the sudden quiet. Every head turned toward the skinny kid in the worn jeans and second-hand sneakers. "He was good, really good." Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. He had wrestled, briefly, 25 years ago, before Jake was born, before life took its sharp left turn. But that was a lifetime ago, when his body was young and his spirit unbroken by years of double shifts and single parenthood. "The janitor?" Tyler's voice dripped with disbelief and barely concealed amusement. "Your dad's the janitor?" The gymnasium fell silent except for the hum of the overhead lights. Marcus saw the mixture of pride and desperation in his son's eyes, the way Jake's chin lifted despite the heat creeping up his neck. In that moment, Marcus realized his boy wasn't just defending his father, he was fighting for something bigger, for the right to be proud of where he came from. $5, right? Marcus's voice was steady as he stepped forward, pulling a crumpled bill from his pocket. His work boots squeaked against the polished floor as he approached the mat, and he heard the whispers starting in the stands. "This should be interesting," someone muttered. "Poor kid's about to watch his dad get embarrassed." Coach Morrison looked uncertain for the first time all evening. "Marcus, you sure about this? These boys' area?" "I'm sure." Marcus was already pulling off his work boots, revealing clean white socks with a small hole near the left toe. He stripped down to his undershirt and work pants, his frame leaner than it had been in his youth but still solid from years of physical labor. Tyler stepped onto the mat with a grin that didn't reach his eyes. At 18, he was strong and fast, undefeated in his weight class and already fielding college scholarship offers. Across from him, Marcus rolled his shoulders and felt 25 years of accumulated tension. The referee positioned them in the center circle. Marcus's hands felt strange in the familiar grip, muscle memory awakening like an old song half remembered. He caught Jake's eye in the stands and saw something that broke his heart and filled it simultaneously. "A hope." "Ready?" the referee asked. Tyler nodded confidently. Marcus simply breathed. The whistle blew. Tyler shot forward immediately, a perfectly executed takedown attempt that should have put the older man on his back within seconds. Should have. Instead, Marcus sidestepped with a fluidity that surprised everyone in the gymnasium, including himself. His body remembered what his mind had tried to forget. For 30 seconds, they circled each other, Tyler growing increasingly aggressive, Marcus patient and defensive. The crowd was completely silent now, sensing something they couldn't quite name. Then Tyler overcommitted on a desperate shot, and Marcus moved. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't textbook, but it was effective. Years of lifting, mopping, and hauling had given Marcus a different kind of strength, a practical, unforgiving, earned through necessity rather than training. When Tyler hit the mat, the sound echoed like thunder. The pin came slowly, inevitably. Tyler fought it with everything he had, his face red with effort and disbelief. But Marcus was immovable, a force of quiet determination pressed down into human form. When the referee's hand slapped the mat for the third time, the gymnasium exploded. Jake was the first to reach him, tears streaming down his face as he wrapped his arms around his father. "Dad, you did it. You actually did it." But Marcus was looking past his son to Tyler, who sat on the mat with his head in his hands. The other wrestlers gathered around their teammate, unsure how to process what they'd just witnessed. In that moment, Marcus made a choice that would define him more than any victory ever could. He walked over to Tyler and extended his hand. When the young man looked up, Marcus saw not arrogance but devastation at the crushing weight of a perfect season ended by the school janitor. "You're a hell of a wrestler, son," Marcus said quietly. "Don't let one match change that. You've got something special." Tyler stared at the offered hand for a long moment before taking it. Marcus pulled him to his feet, and as he did, he leaned closer. "Your dad's proud of you every single day. Win or lose, remember that." The crowd was still cheering, still celebrating the upset of the century. But Marcus wasn't thinking about victory as he picked up his work boots. He was thinking about his son's face, the way Jake stood a little taller now, the way the other kids looked at him differently. Later, as they walked to their beat-up Honda in the parking lot, Jake was still buzzing with excitement. "Dad, where did that come from?" "I mean, I knew you wrestled. Buter." "Sometimes," Marcus said, unlocking the car door, "we're stronger than we think we are. We just need the right reason to remember." As they drove home through the quiet streets, Marcus caught his reflection in the rear-view mirror. He looked the same as always, tired, worn, older than his years. But something had shifted. not just in how others saw him, but in how he saw himself. The next Monday, Marcus arrived at work to find something unexpected: respect. Not from everyone. A change comes slowly in small towns, but from enough people to matter. Tyler Morrison nodded when he passed in the hallway. Coach Morrison stopped to ask about his wrestling background. Other kids looked at Jake differently, no longer seeing just the janitor's son but the son of the man who had reminded them all that strength comes in many forms. But the moment that mattered most came at the end of that first day, when Jake met him by the supply closet as always. "Dad," Jake said, his voice serious. "I was thinking maybe I don't need to wrestle after all." Marcus paused in his mopping. "Why's that?" "Because I already have the coolest dad in school." Marcus smiled, the kind of smile that starts in your chest and works its way out. "Well," he said, "if you ever change your mind, we'll figure it out together." As they walked home that evening, father and son side by side, Marcus realized the real victory hadn't happened on the wrestling mat. It had happened in the moment he chose to step forward, to fight not for himself but for his boy's right to be proud. In the end, that's what parents do. They show up, they stand up, and they prove that love is the strongest force of all. The janitor's cart would wait for tomorrow. Tonight, he was simply a father, and that was enough.